But not all suburbs are created equal. This is Markham, one of the few communities in Ontario that has embraced the 21st century ideal of the new city. Markham has gone through the usual suburban evolution, and now you've got behind me the new Markham downtown. It's not finished yet, it's very much a work in progress, but the intention here is to build a new type of suburb, one based on density, compactness, and less of a reliance on the car. That means narrower streets, animated on both sides, all kinds of mixed use, people living here, people working here, people going to the theater, going to restaurants, all that kind of thing, and doing those things on their own 2 feet rather than driving. Now, it's still a work in progress, it has a long way to go, but I think that there are reasons for optimism. It's kind of sterile and monotonous, but there's something actually very interesting happening here. What we've got is suburban row housing. Now that would normally be a contradiction in terms. Suburbs are all about open spaces, lots of room to do everything, to spread out. Row housing is about being compact, tightly put together, all that sort of stuff. But this is the new model right here. This is where it's happening. This is the future of the suburbs. And you know, the province is putting all kinds of pressure on small towns to build more densely. This is the result. It's not pretty, but it's probably a lot more sustainable than what we've been building for the last 60 years. You do have to wonder about what's going on exactly out here in the new Markham downtown. On the one hand, they want the full convenience of car culture. I mean, keep in mind, we're sitting on top of an underground parking garage, but at the same time, they want all the benefits, all the enjoyment of an urban downtown culture. The desire to have both car culture and an urban lifestyle is entirely understandable, and maybe they'll be able to pull it off out here in Markham. But one thing is for certain, it could not be done in downtown Toronto, and I'll show you why.
Here in the downtown core, where we're sitting right now at Ryerson University, is part of the core, which is going to double in population over the next decade or so. If you think about that, of putting, adding all those people, adding all that employment to the downtown core, can we add that many? Can we add double the cars and trucks to the roads? We really can't. There's no space for it. You can't build more roads in the downtown core. What you can do is create opportunities for other types of mobility, and that's the way we have to go in the future, or we're just going to be jammed.
Roads are built for buses, cars, and trucks, not for people on bikes. And I feel my heart bleeds for them when I hear someone gets killed, but it's their own fault at the end of the day.
And there's this fear, and I don't know what it's a fear of. Like this war on the car business. Yeah. It's either the car or the bike, the car or the pedestrian. There's a resistance to the idea that the streets can be shared by all different forms of mobility.
Yeah, I tend to agree that I think Torontonians are there. Torontonians, who are out there, who are, riding, who are walking, who are driving, who are taking public transit, they get it. They get the issue. They want to see an investment in, really high quality cycling infrastructure. When asked about whether they would ride more often if the streets were safer, again, 2/3 say yes, I want to ride. I want to actually be able to get to, home, to school, to play, by bicycle. But they're not doing it because our streets are not safe enough. That being said, you got to ask the question, well, what's going on at City Hall?
That's a great question. What is going on at City Hall? Well, we've come down here to find out. I just want to point out that we asked the Mayor, John Tory, and Chief Planner Jennifer Keesmaat to appear. Neither was available. Anyway, we're going to speak now to Downtown Councillor Mike Layton. He's led the charge to open up the streets of Toronto to bicycles and pedestrians. Here's what he has to say.
Well, you know what? I think as our city grows, I think we're starting to see more pressure on our existing infrastructure. And as that debate folds out, there are those in our city that want people to pick a side. Sadly, it's actually not the case for most of us. Well, I bike most days, but I'm a transit rider other days, and I'm a driver on occasion. And so it's more about figuring out what is that balancing act of making sure the streets are good for public safety, good for people getting around, as well as building a vibrant city. Sometimes those streets need to close down to everyone, so that we can have another use.
The fact that it took council over a week to deliberate over a pilot project for a temporary bike lane on Bloor really shows you that we aren't quite ready as an entire city with the core and the suburbs to make these decisions. So we need these pilots to actually prove that once you put these things in place, cars don't shop, people shop.
Over the last 30 or 40 years, there's a reason why we didn't get bike lanes on Bloor when people were asking 40 years ago. There wasn't as many cyclists on the road, it wasn't as large a mode share for people on a daily basis, and there wasn't as much acceptance. Fast forward 40 years, and now you've got the business improvement areas willing to put money in to study how much benefit it's bringing to their businesses.